Hello and welcome. I'm your host Q, and today we'll be going over V Rising update number 29, Weapons of the Night. So with this beginning graphic, looks like we have a few new weapons kind of showcased here. This is one of the weapons that we've seen in one of the previous dev blogs, so if you want to know more about this one in particular, feel free to check out one of my previous rundowns of the dev blogs, and I'll link it here for anyone interested. All right, let's get right into it. Well, hello there, vampires. We hope you missed us as much as we've missed you, for in this woeful time we spent apart, we're happy to report that our dark machinations have been coming along in a lovely fashion. We think it's about time we fed you a few more delicious tidbits on what we're up to. On this day, we bring you news of all things weaponry, new weapons to wield, alchemical concoctions to enhance your attacks, and a glimpse at the stunning new forms of your legendary artifacts. Wrap your claws around the stem of a fine glass of blood wine, settle into your favorite seat, and always keep your favorite blade within easy reach, vampires. Let's talk weapons. The claws. Unleash the beast. So, we hear you wanted to feel like a beast. Sure. We're refined creatures, but at the end of the night, we're all hunters. We stalk the night. We want blood under our fingers, and sometimes wielding a deadly implement like a spear or a bow doesn't have quite the visceral engagement with the hunt that we so crave. Enter the claws. This is the first of 3 weapons we're going to be adding to V Rising in the 1.1 update, and one that has been in high demand ever since our early access release. The first thing you do as a vampire is cut into your foe's fingers first. But after you pick up your first blade, it's really appropriate to return to your savage beginnings and really dig into our ever-lurking bestial nature again. Alright, so this looks like the first weapon here. We have some actual claws. That's a pretty accurate description. Ready to rip and tear. Okay, so it looks like they're showing us our primary attack here. Looks pretty interesting, you know. Looks like a frontal swipe kind of attack. I kind of wonder if this is a single target attack or if this is just like an attack that is kind of fanned out in front of your character or in whatever direction your character happens to be facing. So I'm kind of curious to see how they're implementing this as far as primary attacks and things like that, because if the primary attacks are like also kind of like an AoE, that would be kind of an interesting thing to see here. Primary attack. Perform a combo of melee attacks dealing 40%, 40%, 50% physical damage. The third attack inflicts puncture, stacking up to 3 times. Trigger a rupture, dealing 75% damage to the target and 50% damage to nearby enemies upon reaching maximum stacks. Cast time 0.25 seconds. The primary attack for the new claws weapon, individual numbers are subject to change. Okay. Yeah, the one thing I find interesting is the puncture, though, because it says here, you know, stack up to 3 times. So that must be what that is. So you see these auto attacks, and then you see how it's just kind of, at the end, it looks kind of like an explosion on the target. So that's kind of interesting. So I assume that this little indicator up here at the top has something to do with the 3 stacks. So that might be interesting to look into. The puncture mechanic is outlined here. This is a stacking effect, mimicking the act of rending and debilitating your foe more as you continue to tear into them. When the effect pops, it causes a chaotic explosion of damage depending on how many stacks have built up on your foe. A messy conclusion worthy of weapons. Okay, so that's basically what the same conclusion I came to from that original image. Okay. Lunge. Vault towards the cursor and cleave enemies, dealing 100% physical damage and inflicting puncture. Okay. One of the new weapons abilities for the claw weapon, individual numbers are subject to change, and it says get in there. Oh, okay, so it's like a frontal dash, so... Okay, so it's not, the range on that is not that big, actually. That's kind of interesting. I can see this being kind of like potentially easy to dodge in like a PvP scenario. I mean, I'm not like huge into PvP, but I can see someone being able to sidestep because of the animation there. And it looks like you're probably animation locked for that skill, so that's kind of interesting. All right. Skewering Leap. Leap to target location, dealing 100% physical damage, inflicting puncture, and 1 second's incapacitate. You bounce off enemies towards your aim direction. Missing an enemy will cause you to stick to the ground for a short duration. Okay, so there's an actual punishment if you miss. That's interesting. Cooldown 10 seconds, cast time 0.2 seconds. Okay. One of the new weapon abilities for the claw weapon individual numbers are subject to change, as always. Okay, let's check that out. Oh, so it's like a bounce. That's kind of interesting, actually. I mean, it looks cool, but I'm thinking of like what the uses of this could potentially be, because if you're using this ability, your enemies are going to know exactly where you're going to land. So I'm not really sure how good this would be competitively, but at the same time, I look at the claws and it just looks cool. So, I mean, you know, PvE wise, like if you're just going about and jumping on the enemies, this could be really good maybe for like dodging boss attacks. Like I could see, especially like, for example, like the werewolf boss, if you jump on him like that right before he dashes, that could be good. I could see that, you know, something like that being useful. You know, any enemies that really have like a big dash like that, that could be pretty nice to have. I wonder if when you're in the air, you're like invulnerable to attack, or if like you can still take damage while you're like in the air. So I don't know. That would be something I'd have to experiment with, but that's kind of interesting. Let's see. Set them up, then knock them down. Like the other weapon types, you can also expect the claws to have their own artifact weapon. Look forward to wielding the talons of the Lich Beast, a set of unholy imbued implements that include additional effects like skeleton summoning and powerful self-healing. Okay. All right, next we have the Twinblade, Dance with Death. Always double tap. Never has that been more true in V-Rising than with the Twinblade, a dual blade staff designed for relentless rhythmic combat. Deliver devastating strikes in perfect succession. This weapon thrives on balance, dexterous leaps, and crushing blows with a signature pattern of primary attacks that always come in twos. Hurl your Twinblade to strike from afar, then close the distance in a lethal follow-up. Launch your enemy into the air, reposition them at your mercy, and seize control of the battlefield. Maneuver, manipulate, and master the fight. Okay. All right. This weapon looks pretty cool. All right. Dual-bladed, pondering the battle to come. Yep. All right, let's see what this looks like. Be relentless. Okay, so the primary attack looks pretty straightforward. Nothing too special here, I don't think. All right. Perform a combo of melee double attacks dealing 60%, 60%, then 80% physical damage. Cast time 0.4 seconds. Okay. The primary attack of the new Twinblade weapon, individual numbers are subject to change. Okay. Javelin. Toss your weapon towards target location, dealing 125% physical damage and inflicting 1.5 second fading snare in an area. Recall your weapon after 2 seconds, causing it to pierce and pull and deal 80% physical damage to enemies in its path. Recast the ability to dash towards your weapon. This action will cancel recall. Oh, I see. So it looks like it's like this might be like a target chain that pulls you in or something. That's kind of interesting. Let's see. Ew. Okay, that was not what I had in mind looking at this. Push them, pull them in. Oh man. Imagine if you like toss that down, push the person toward you, they're kind of stuck there, they're snared, and then oh my god, that's gonna be disgusting. And then you pull out like a regular spear and then you just cue them. Oh my god. Actually, I don't know, because I assume this would probably be the Q ability for the target area thing. So I guess you could, okay, so I guess you couldn't follow it up because that skill would already be on cooldown, huh? I don't know. This could be interesting. I could definitely see this being kind of cool, especially if we combine something like this with the claws. Like that could be interesting. All right, push and pull them in. or go right to them. So, okay, so it looks like the recast pulls you in. Oh, but you go behind them. I wonder if there's going to be any bonuses for attacking the target from behind, because like I could definitely see this being kind of useful. It looks like the first two weapons we're being presented with here both allow you to get behind the target, so I don't know. This is kind of interesting. Sweeping Strike. Lunge forward and swing your twin blades, dealing 100% physical damage in a line and launching enemies into the air and to the opposite side of you. Okay, cooldown 8 seconds and the cast time is 0. And the cast time is 0.4 seconds. One of our new weapons, blah, 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 subject to change. All right, let's take a look. What does it do? Oh, it's a fling. So it's a grab. It's like a, you know, this kind of reminds me of like kind of like a singed grab or like an ergot grab where you flip the target behind you. That's kind of interesting, actually. It kind of reminds me of that. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, but you know, different game. But yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, I can definitely see like if you have like coordinated combat going on here, like maybe you have yourself going in there, just tossing the target behind you, just you know, into your friend's like regular like spear queue. Oh my god, that would be insane. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I think some of the PvPers might have some fun with these weapons actually. Let's see. The Twinblade artifact weapon will be frost themed. The Fate Dancers not only allow granted chill effects, but also deal an additional 50% damage against chilled enemies when landing a sweeping strike. Okay. All right, next we have the Throwing Daggers. Aim to kill. You deserve a weapon as refined as your skill, agile, precise, and deadly by design. A weapon that rewards strategy, setting the stage for a lethal combo before delivering the final calculated strike. For you, there are now the Throwing Daggers. Snap out these throwing blades one after another, sinking them into your foe and littering the ground with discarded knives. Then harness your magic, drawing them back to you and tearing through any opponents between you and your masterfully laid trap. Okay. All right, so the blades look kind of nice. All right. Nothing too crazy here. All right, for the deft of hand. All right, setting them up, hold attack to throw one and release to unleash your build-up dagger stacks? What? Okay. So, oh, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Bane. I think he has like, if I remember correctly, I think he has like this one ability where he just kind of like throws daggers at you. This might be similar to that. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if the direction that these blades fall is like consistent or if it's like something else. Because here's the thing, if your target, like this target is stationary, but if your target is moving, I wonder how like these blades will like land on the ground. So I don't know, that might be, because the thing is, if you're pulling them back to you eventually, that could be kind of an interesting play there. Because in a way, you could argue that it's like, you know, kind of like controlling the ground or controlling an area of the ground that obviously your enemies are probably not going to want to stand in or stand between you and. So I don't know, that could be interesting. All right. With patience, you'll regain stacks of daggers able to throw a few at once instead of one by one. They stack one at a time, so if it's more convenient to quickly toss 2 or 3 instead, that option is available to you. Okay. Throw dagger. Throw up to 4 daggers, dealing 40% physical damage. Hitting an enemy or a solid object causes the dagger to stick to the ground. Gain 1 dagger stack every 1 second. Cooldown is 0.55 seconds and the cast time is 0.6 seconds. So like when they say solid object, I assume that'll probably also work on things like crates and barrels and probably buildings, I would think. I mean, I would think it would either work on buildings, maybe on, you know, things that are breakable, because it's still technically a solid object, right? I don't know. So when this says solid object, I'm kind of thinking like, does that work on like mineral deposits? Does that work on, you know, breakable items and things like that? You know, that's something that's going to be, you know, kind of messed around with, because here's the thing, like if it only works against walls, this is going to be a very, very situational kind of weapon too, maybe to use it like in the best way. I can definitely see some shenanigans happening, maybe in the cursed forest, you know, someone popping up behind you, you see a bunch of daggers all of a sudden, and then they're all literally on top of your feet because you're standing next to like a tree or something. um I don't know, I'm kind of thinking more about this, but I kind of like this. I kind of like this in general. All right, Rain of Daggers. Target area. Leap into the air and throw 4 daggers in front of you, each dagger dealing 40% physical damage and inflicting 2-second fading snare. Daggers remain on the ground for 8 seconds. All right, one of the new weapons. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Oh, okay, so it's like, okay, so, so I guess that when you use this ability, I'm guessing that your daggers are going to be in a fixed position, so that might be easier to control. That's kind of interesting. Okay, it looks cool. I wonder if that leap into the air will make you be able to dodge damage. I'm assuming you're probably animation locked while using this ability. So when you're casting this ability, I wonder if it gives you the ability to like dodge spells or dodge like skill shots and things like that, or even projectiles on the ground. Like I wonder if that gives you the chance to like dodge those things. So that's kind of interesting. Release daggers. Inflict a 1.5 second fading snare and release all nearby daggers that are stuck in the ground. Release daggers return to you, piercing enemies and dealing 40% physical damage. Each dagger that returns grants 1 dagger stack and reduces the cooldown of Rain of Daggers by 0.2%. Cooldown 8 seconds, cast time 0.5 seconds. Okay, let's see. Yep, and there's the pull-in. So this is kind of why I was talking about, like, I wonder how consistent or how like the logic works when throwing those daggers. Not the last skill that we saw, but the one where, you know, you can throw 4 in a row. Like, I wonder how its placement behind the target is actually like calculated, or how it actually works, because I can see some shenanigans happening where people figure out a way to guarantee that it's always going to land in the position that they want it to land. Because remember, the idea is to keep it behind the target you're trying to, you know, take down. So if that target moves sideways, I mean, that's going to be a little bit challenging. I could definitely see something like the whip being a little bit of a counter to this, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to see more, but this is kind of interesting. Like the others, the daggers will also be introducing a unique artifact weapon to V Rising. The Wraith Blades play with stacks of Phantasm from the Illusion School. Your Rain of Daggers will deal additional damage based on how many stacks of Phantasm you have, and your Release Dagger skill will grant you stacks of Phantasm for each blade returned by the ability, leading to the ability synergizing in both directions. Okay. Blades dripping with magic. We've been keeping a close eye on the community and understand some concerns about how stat changes affect overall player power. Rest assured, you won't be losing strength, quite the opposite, in fact. Not only will you have access to a wider variety of interesting stats to diversify your build, but you'll also gain new tools to bring your enemies to ruin. And now, behold, one such entirely new trick to add to your arsenal. Weapon coatings. Oh, okay, this is great. Okay, so this is something that I might be getting ahead of myself, but seeing that there's coatings instead of having certain attributes or certain kinds of stats kind of glued onto a specific weapon, I like the idea of being able to use a coating to your weapon, because then maybe that can, you know, diversify what people choose, for example. So I don't know, let's read into it and see what they say here. Okay, so this is the storm coating. Imbue your equipped weapon with crackling thunder. Your next primary attack deals 50% bonus magic damage and triggers chain lightning. The on-hit effect recharges every 15 seconds, and the imbuement lasts for 60 seconds. Effect persists through death. Ooh, okay. All right, so it looks like a kind of like a passive kind of like lightning charge. So, okay, that can be nice. All right, blood coating. Imbue your equipped weapon with the essence of blood. Your next primary attack inflicts Leech and Vampiric Curse, dealing 75% magic damage after 2 seconds and spawning a blood orb. The on-hit effect recharges every 15 seconds and the imbuement lasts for 60 minutes. You know, I kind of wondering, like, just reading through a couple of these, I'm kind of thinking, like, I wonder if there's going to be any situations, and I'm sure there is, where any of the weapons benefit way too much with the coatings. Like, because, I mean, it's one thing to have an option, it's another thing to have a synergy, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I'm kind of curious to see how that works out. This could be crazy. There will be a new weapon coating for each magic type, and you'll be able to coat individual weapons with ease. These powerful on-hit attacks are one more method you can use to specialize your playstyle and even mix multiple coatings across multiple weapons to switch between. Each one can only be activated every 15 seconds on a single weapon, but if you're switching between others, you can get it as often as once every 5 seconds. All right. This new technology will be unlocked by drinking the blood of one of the new V-Bloods in 1.1, adapting the techniques of a formidable new foe, and adding it to your litany of stolen skills. Prepare for battle, vampires, and soak your blades in a new coat of pain. So it looks like they're kind of leaning into and trying to reward the weapon swap playstyle, which is pretty much necessary for anyone who's looking to, you know, kind of play this game in a competitive way, or like, you know, the hardcore PvPers, like, that's pretty much necessary. You can't really, I mean, at least in my opinion, I don't think you can, like, seriously contend with others without being able to weapon swap very well. That in itself is a skill. So people who can do that very well are going to benefit from this in ways that I think is just gonna be so strong. Like, I kind of worry in a way if this is going to kind of increase the gap so much between really skilled players and, like, you know, people who are maybe just new to the game or just starting out. Because I can definitely see a bloodbath as a result of this. This is going to be insane. I mean, 5 seconds versus 15, that's a big difference. I mean, 5 seconds in a fight, like, you know, that's a very long time. You know, so you can only imagine. So I don't know, this will be interesting. Worthy of their names. To finish off, we thought it might be fun to show off some of the new skins we've been working on for the artifact weapons. We've shown some concepts in earlier blogs, but here are some examples of how they translated to in-game models. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So this is the weapon we saw in a previous dev blog. I'm going to link that dev blog here. I did go over that one, so if you're interested in learning more about this particular weapon, and you know, some of the concepts and designs and some of the art behind it, feel free to go check that video out. Let's see, the Hand of Winter, Gripping Cold. Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like a hand. Very nice. One might even say that this weapon will come in handy. Very nice. I really like the way that one turned out. All right, Thousand Storms, Forked Lightning. Okay, so this is a pretty cool looking one. I kind of wonder, because the tips of this weapon are black, I wonder if it's going to affect the visibility of this weapon too much. I don't know. I'd have to see it in combat, but I kind of wonder, because most of the weapons we have aren't really, like, dark black, but at the same time, the ground isn't normally, like, pitch black either. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I definitely think that this is a cool looking weapon. So very nice on the spear. All right, next we have the Red Twins, some bloody good axes. Okay. The axes look nice. I really like the way that it just looks like dried blood on the axe. Like, it actually looks like a bloody axe. It's kind of cool. I really like this a lot. I mean, it has like a nice, you know, texture to it. So, I don't know. That'll be cool. Mortria's Lament, Reap What You Sow. Oh man, I love sides. So this is one hell of a scythe right here. It looks really nice. It looks like you have the nice green color here. I wonder if so right now we're not really able to change the color of our weapons. We only can really change the color of our outfits. I don't think they're ever going to add something that allows us to change the color of our weapons, but I don't know. I kind of wonder. And the reason why I say that is because I think it would make it harder to tell what the person is wielding readability wise if it's like a different color every time. But at the same time, I'm kind of wondering, how would people know what kind of coating you put on your weapon? Like, well, like for example, right? If you have the scythe and you put a, I don't know, red coating on it, right? The blood coating, is it going to turn the scythe red? Like, how does that work? Like, is there a visual indicator that kind of tells you what kind of coating the person used on their weapon? That's something I would like to know. Each artifact weapon will have a unique appearance, and we aren't going to spoil them all immediately. You'll have to wait just a bit longer to see them all. All right, just one more apocalypse. Yeah, I that's a nice looking weapon too. This great sword, oh man, it just looks so nice. I really like the little eye at the top, and I mean the fact that it's purple, you know, it kind of indicates the whole chaos thing, which makes sense because currently the endgame great sword on the E ability, it casts chaos like a it casts a line of like chaos damage, right? So I think it kind of makes sense as far as like thematically how things are working out here. So I don't know. I wonder if there's going to be anything to the weapons looking that certain way, or if they're just doubling down on the current affinities of the weapons, I guess. I don't know. The Year of the Snake. More exciting news is just on the horizon, my vampires. You have given us the patience worthy of a nocturnal predator, and your prize is close at hand. Keep an eye out on all our socials to be the first to pounce on delicious new information on V-Rising's upcoming 1.1 patch. All right, so looks like that's the end. Okay, so I'm going to give some of my thoughts, takeaways, and things like that. I kind of went over a lot of it mostly as we were going through here, but overall, I kind of like the way the weapons look. I think they look really nice. I'm glad we're getting 3 new weapons in this patch. I think in previous updates, we've only gotten 2 at a time. So like, for example, during the last update or the patch 1.0, we got the whip and we got the longbow. Before that, we got the dual pistols and I can't remember what the other thing was. I feel like we got 2 weapons, but I can't, my brain is like not functioning. So something that kind of goes through my mind looking at these weapons and stuff, like I really like that they're kind of diversifying the playstyle a little bit, you know, giving players more of an option of like mobility and things like that. So this is actually really nice. I'm glad we have claws now. That's kind of cool. I think something that kind of sticks out to me is that there seems to be more animation locking abilities going on here. I think in a way to maybe try and balance these, which I mean makes sense. At the same time, you know, I wonder how players are going to be using this to like dodge like skill shots and things like that. So like, for example, like these claws here, when you're jumping into the air like that, you're pretty high up into the air. I don't think anyone's going to be able to snatch you out of the air with like a spear E, for example. So I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. So I don't know. The coatings are another thing too that I'm a little bit worried about, in the sense that, you know, how are you going to know what kind of coating the person has? So like, for example, like with this weapon, you know, you kind of have frost as your kind of like end game, how do I say this? So like your endgame weapon, so the Fate Dancers not only guarantee chill effects, but also deal additional 50% damage against chilled enemies when landing a sweeping strike. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, if you have a coating that is also frost, like, are players just going to default pick like something that is the same type as what the current weapon is, and like as far as the coding goes, or are they just going to pick something else that they think maybe synergizes a little bit more with their kit? And I don't know, like there's so much going on here that, like, I feel like combat is about to get way more complicated when it comes to a lot of things, because not only are you going to have the coatings, which is something I did not foresee. So you have the coatings, you have the weapons with already their elemental affinities, so whether it be frost or phantasm or, you know, whatever, or you also have to remember there is going to be mixed blood now with different blood types. You can mix the blood, so that's going to be another mechanic on top of that. So I feel like the skill gap between, you know, like beginner players and players who are maybe more veteran players of the game is going to get larger, I think, as a result of this. So I don't know if that'll be a good or bad thing, but I don't know, this could freshen up the equation a little bit. I think this will give people more things to do, more things to practice with, more things to test out. And I like the variety of weapons because, you know, not everyone likes to use certain weapons for different, you know, purposes. So like, for example, like for myself, like if I'm playing like PvE stuff, I might just use, you know, a specific set of weapons. Whereas like if I'm playing PvP, I might choose like, you know, a couple of weapons that are maybe different from that, just because I prefer to fight with those on the fly versus like against like, you know, regular enemies. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this plays out. This is going to be one hell of a patch. And then on top of that, we're also getting the arenas that we can add to our castles. So, and by the way, that was also in a previous devlog. I'm going to link that here as well. So if you are behind, or maybe if you're new to the game or you're curious about it, and you're curious about these updates and maybe you missed a few, make sure you look back on my playlist. I have a playlist where it shows like kind of like all the breakdowns and stuff of the previous devlogs, and you don't want to miss anything because each devlog has like a lot of stuff in it. So I highly recommend going and checking those out. On another unrelated note, this is another update where I'm not surprised they're going over weapons. It's kind of good they're talking about weapons and stuff. This is definitely like really exciting, but I was kind of hoping to see an update on any progress dealing with the servants, because we haven't heard anything about servant updates in a very, very long time. And I was kind of hoping to see, you know, some changes or like some implementation of a new system there. So I wonder if they're holding off on that until like, you know, a closer date. Because right now, like, it's not April yet, right? Like, we're still in March. And I assume this update is probably going to come out in May. Usually when they put out a big update every year, it's in May. Last year, they put it out like a week earlier than I was anticipating. Where they released it on like May 8th, for example. So I kind of wonder how much more information they're really going to be able to give us before that. Another thing too I want to talk about is that there is the Triple I initiative live stream that should be happening sometime soon. I'm not sure the exact date. I don't even think that the date was like announced yet by the time I found out about it. But there was a post on the well, actually, you know what? Let's go to, I'll show you guys. So we'll go to Twitter. There was a post on the V-Rising Twitter page here, and they showed that they were participating in the Triple I initiative. There we go. So this was kind of the preview that they gave us. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, wow. You know, we actually get, you know, a character model we can look at. So this is one of the bosses. We actually saw this guy on the cover of a previous devlog. I think the one right before this one. I think it was number 28, actually. And, you know, just seeing it in motion, you know, that's kind of cool. So I wonder what exactly we're going to see during the Triple I initiative stream. Because if they release, you know, gameplay footage of 1.1, that's going to be huge, and I'll make sure to cover that. So keep your eyes peeled, guys. This is going to be very interesting as far as V-Rising news and information goes. So yeah, if you're interested in keeping up with all that stuff, please make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I also have a bunch of V-Rising guides, especially decoration guides on my channel. I'm mostly a PvE player, so I have a lot of decorating guides and things like that. So if you like to decorate your castle, if you have that creative spirit and you like to do that kind of stuff, or if you just like watching people build, feel free to go check that out. I'm going to link a playlist to my castle builds here. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, Sholo out.